Welcome to this deep dive. We've got some really fascinating sources to unpack today, all about boredom.
Yeah, everything from, the hard science to personal experiences people shared.
Exactly. So our mission is really to cut through that noise, pull out the key insights you sent us, and explore what boredom actually is, where it bubbles up from, and, well, why it feels so unpleasant.
Mm-hmm.
So let's jump right in. What did the sources say is happening, biologically, when we feel bored?
Well, the sources suggest boredom isn't just this vague feeling. It's actually rooted in brain chemistry, specifically understimulation in certain circuits.
Okay, understimulation.
Yeah, the ones linked to attention and reward. So if the world around you isn't giving you enough that's new or engaging, your brain doesn't get enough of that reward chemical.
Mm-hmm.
The sources talk about dopaminergic signaling.
Dopamine, right.
Right, so you get this mismatch. Your brain's kind of revved up, ready for something interesting, but nothing's really hitting the mark.
And that's where that classic feeling comes from. Low energy, but restless.
Precisely, that's the one.
So it's like the brain's engine is idling, but you feel stuck. That biological part makes sense, but the sources also mention environment, psychology. How do those fit?
Oh, absolutely. Biology is just one piece. The sources really highlight the social and environmental side, too.
Okay.
Boredom can definitely strike when, our surroundings or interactions just don't meet our need for meaningful engagement.
Meaningful, not just busy work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The sources used an example you could be in a meeting, physically present, right? But if nothing truly interactive or engaging is happening, it feels boring. Because it's not fulfilling that expectation for, say, social connection or intellectual stimulation. It's about a lack of perceived meaning in that moment.
That really resonates. So it's not just empty time, it's time that feels kind of pointless given the situation. And psychologically, are some people just more prone to it?
That seems to be the case. Psychologically, it's often this disconnect, right, between your own internal drive for stimulation and what's actually available.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're someone with a high need for cognition, as the sources put it, you enjoy thinking, tackling complex problems, then monotonous tasks, they're going to hit your boredom threshold way faster. Your mind is craving something the environment just isn't offering.
Okay, so it's like a three-part recipe. Brain understimulated, environment not meaningful enough, and a mismatch with our personal needs. If it's that complex, what did the sources say about the consequences? Is chronic boredom actually harmful?
Yeah, the sources were pretty clear on that.
Yeah.
Chronic boredom, it has some significant negative effects. It's linked to mood issues, for one.
Like depression.
Yeah, making people more vulnerable to depression. That constant lack of engagement can really chip away at your sense of purpose, even self-worth.
Wow.
And it often brings that nasty combo of anxiety and restlessness, that feeling of being trapped somehow.
And does that internal unease mess with our behavior too? Make it harder to stay on track?
Yes, definitely. Impaired self-regulation is a big one mentioned in the sources.
Cool.
Well, chronically bored individuals, they're more likely to seek out really intense, immediate gratification.
Like distractions.
Right. Think excessive screen time, maybe unhealthy eating, sometimes even riskier behaviors. Anything to quickly fill that void or just chase a stronger stimulus.
And that must put a strain on things, relationships, focus.
Absolutely. It can make everything else feel even duller over time,
Yeah.
essentially straining relationships, yeah.
That's really striking, especially when you think about how much time we spend online now, which seems designed to banish boredom, right? Endless stuff to click on. But the sources talked about a paradox there.
Oh, a huge paradox. The internet, social media, they offer this constant stream of novel stimuli. Feels like a quick fix.
Gives you that little hit.
Exactly, those small dopamine hits. But, and this is the key part the sources explain, this leads to something called rapid novelty adaptation.
Meaning
Meaning your brain gets used to that level of stimulation really fast. It raises your baseline. So then slower, maybe deeper activities, they start feeling boring by comparison. You end up needing more and more just to feel normally engaged.
So the cure actually makes us need a higher dose just to feel okay. And what about just the sheer volume of choice online?
Right, that's another layer of the paradox of choice. With basically infinite content, the actual process of deciding what to look at becomes mentally draining.
Decision fatigue.
That's what the sources called it. You spend so much energy choosing, you're almost too tired to properly engage with whatever you finally pick. Plus, a lot of online interaction is pretty superficial, isn't it?
Yeah, quick likes, comments.
It doesn't really satisfy that deeper need for genuine connection. So you can end up feeling kind of hollow, even surrounded by activity.
And all the notifications, juggling tabs, that feels exhausting itself. But you said the sources link that to boredom, too? Seems counterintuitive.
They do. This state of constant partial attention, flicking between tasks, notifications, never really settling.
Oh.
It drains your mental energy. And paradoxically, this overstimulation leads to mental exhaustion, which then makes it harder to focus deeply on anything.
Right.
So your tired brain just defaults to labeling anything complex or slow as boring. Add in the social comparison trap, seeing everyone's curated highlights makes your own reality feel dull.
Amplifying the understimulation. Wow. Okay, so the very tools we grab to escape boredom might actually be making us more susceptible and less able to engage properly. Given all that, what did the sources suggest are the actually helpful strategies? The ones that don't backfire?
Yeah, the sources made a useful distinction between adaptive strategies, the helpful ones, and maladaptive ones.
Okay, what are the adaptive ones?
Adaptive ones tend to foster more durable relief and healthier engagement. Things like mindfulness, just consciously observing your surroundings, can shift you out of that internal restlessness. Setting micro goals, breaking big tasks into tiny, achievable steps. That creates small wins, fights that feeling of purposelessness.
Makes sense.
Learning new skills engages different brain pathways. Seeking out genuine social connection, fulfilling that need for real interaction, even engaging with long-form content like reading a book, helps rebuild sustained attention.
Those all sound like active, intentional choices, not just passive escapes. So the maladaptive ones are the passive escapes.
Precisely. Endless scrolling, binge-watching shows, maybe excessive online shopping, stuff like that.
The quick fixes.
Exactly. They give you a temporary distraction, that quick hit, but they don't touch the root cause. And often, they leave you feeling even more restless or unfocused, maybe even a bit guilty afterwards. They just mask the boredom, they don't resolve it.
Okay, so wrapping this up then. We've seen boredom isn't just nothing to do. It's this really complex state, brain chemistry, our environment, our own psychology, all playing a part.
And the consequences of letting it become chronic are pretty real. Plus, that whole internet paradox is fascinating, how it both helps and hurts.
Right. But importantly, the sources show that making conscious choices, those adaptive strategies like mindfulness, micro goals, real connection that can make a genuine difference, while the passive stuff often just digs us deeper.
Yeah, that seems to be the core message.
So what does this all mean for you, listening? Boredom might feel like just emptiness. But maybe the real challenge, based on these sources, is to see it not as a void to just fill mindlessly, but more like a signal, something to understand.
A signal for what, potentially?
Well, maybe next time you feel that familiar pull, that restlessness, you could ask, okay, is this my brain feeling fatigued? Am I actually craving more meaningful connection? Or is this just a sign that my attention needs something more aligned with what I find valuable?
Good questions to ask.
Yeah. And based on that signal, what small conscious shift could you maybe make today? Something to think about.